Hello, my name's Sarah Naish. I'm from the Centre of Excellence in Child Trauma. I'm a therapeutic parent, adopter, 5 children, former social worker, former foster parent. Everything that we do at the Centre of Excellence is to help parents like you. We have a very large Facebook group which has over 32,000 members. And what we find every day, new people join us from all corners of the world and they literally don't know where to start. They might be struggling with their adopted children or foster children because those children have experienced trauma, or they might be parents who are looking after children with additional needs, either through birth trauma, prenatal or postnatal stress, or any other reasons. Whatever the reason, the feelings are the same and the experiences are really similar. So the reason I'm making this video is that I wanted to give you all somewhere to start, because I've been in your shoes. I know what it feels like when you literally feel like you're going mad, you don't know who to turn to, you feel like people don't believe you and don't understand your struggles. We worry about our children all the time and we can end up blaming the child or just being in a bad place generally. Everything we've done has been creating resources for you to help you. I don't want anyone to be in the position I was in 10 years ago when I was alone and really didn't know what to do, even though I had lots of professional training. It didn't really help me much with dealing with trauma. So with no further ado, let's help you move from Monster Island. If you feel like you're a little bit of a monster parent and your child might be a bit of a monster, we want to get you over to Safer Island, which is all about therapeutic parenting. Safer stands for Secure Attachments from Empathic Reparenting. Sometimes people really struggle and they think, how am I going to do therapeutic parenting? I'm going to have to change my whole life. It's really a straightforward choice. We either stay on Monster Island and sit there feeling sad and lonely and angry and upset and afraid, or we make the leap. We cross the bridge to Therapeutic Parenting Island and our lives get better. And because our lives get better, our children's lives get better. And that's all we really want for them, isn't it, at the end of the day? So you might have days when you feel a bit like this. And this is what we have when people join our Therapeutic Parenting Facebook group. They'll often join us and say, my child's a nightmare, they're behaving badly to me, they're disrespecting me. And because of that, they feel like they've turned into someone who's not great either. If you're stuck on Monster Island, it might be just because you don't know about therapeutic parenting yet, or you've never learned another way. You might be really trapped in traditional parenting models. Maybe you're a social worker and you haven't been taught about therapeutic parenting. And I think that's really difficult. So we need to look at what it's like on Monster Island. We understand what that looks like in order to help you to move from it. So often what we see when parents join our Therapeutic Parenting Facebook group is they will say things like this. So their view of the child is slanted and they will talk about the child being very rude. They will say the child is defiant or disrespecting them. There's a general sense of like a lack of reward where no one's feeling very rewarded, the child isn't, and the parent isn't feeling that the child is rewarding to them. So there's a lot of grief that goes up with that, a lot of guilt as well, because we're worried that we're failing the child. Often parents are talking about lying and stealing. We have lots of posts about cruelty, that's cruelty to animals, cruelty to adults, cruelty to other children. Also, we have a lot of discussions where parents are the victims of violence and the children are violent towards them as well. And generally, they're feeling that the child is out of control and demanding, never grateful, never appreciating anything. So typically, someone who's completely new to our way of parenting will present like this. The experiences that those parents have, as I mentioned, they feel that their parenting is not rewarding. When we have children, we feel that, or we hope that, the child will be rewarding for us. When that isn't the case, it can lead to us being very angry. Now, when we're on Monster Island, we're not just angry because the child is not rewarding. We can also get very angry with the system that we're working in. We might be surrounded by people who don't understand what we're doing, don't understand the level of difficulty that we face, and we might be surrounded by people I call vanishing helpers. Those are people who say they'll help, who anything you want me to do, just let me know. But when it comes down to it, they don't really want to help, and they don't understand how to help you. So that leads to just becoming quite bad-tempered. You'll see that one of my books is called But He Looks So Normal, where I talk about bad-tempered parenting and how I was a bad-tempered mother, BTM for short. It makes us feel like giving up. It makes us feel like, you know, what's the point? I'm not making any difference. Nothing's changing. They're beyond my skill set. And that makes us feel like a failure. And we can also feel really isolated within that, because often we feel like we're surrounded by people who have no clue. And that might even include partner, close family, former friends. You know, everyone's sitting there kind of doing a bit of blaming and judging. And it's a very, very lonely place to be. Other people might blame your child, and you might blame your child as well. So we certainly get a lot of posts from people who are very new saying things like, you know, I can't do anything for him. He's so rude. She lies all the time. She doesn't learn. She doesn't listen, that kind of thing. There's a lot of blaming going on towards the child. This gets us into a really negative cycle where, because we're blaming the child and starting off angry, the child will behave the way we expect them to behave, and it reinforces our view, and it really can damage and fracture our relationship with the child. Certainly there's days when we feel overwhelmed and feel like, you know, we just can't go on, and we don't know who to turn to, and we don't know what to do next. So when we're living on Monster Island, it's really not a very nice place to be, and you might feel like you're the only person living on it. And we do find parents who are very stuck there. So what we've done over the last 10 to 15 years, really, we've been very busy building you a bridge to get out of Monster Island, and we want you to come across to Safer Island. As I mentioned, that is secure attachments from empathic reparenting, so therapeutic parenting. Now, it may look to you from over there that therapeutic parenting is very complicated. It's often very misunderstood. People feel like they have to give in to their children all the time, and they have to, you know, have lots and lots of empathy, but there's no boundaries. Actually, therapeutic parenting is very structured, and there are boundaries, there are consequences, and we help the children to learn from their behaviour. So the only way, though, that you can come across to Safer Island is by crossing the bridge. We've built you a bridge. I'm going to talk about that bridge in a moment. And we've even given you stepping stones as little steps to make when you're very busy and you haven't got time for lots of things. And those stepping stones and that structure of the bridge can move you from Monster Island to Safer Island. However, I can't make you cross that bridge. I can't come to your house, take you by the hand and lead you across it. I would like to be able to, but there are many thousands of you, tens of thousands of you. So you have to make that step yourself. You have to move from Monster Island, from your life, from how it is now, from those difficulties you're experiencing, to Safer Island, to a better life, an easier time. Will you still have bad days? 100%. Will you sometimes feel like you're back on Monster Island? Of course you will, but you won't be there all the time. And best of all, when you're in the therapeutic parenting community, you are surrounded by people who get it. So how do you get there? So first of all, the stepping stones to TP Island. So the reason why we have stepping stones is because we know that your life is very busy. We know that sometimes you literally might have 1 minute a day. You know, who knows what it's like that you've woken up to today? Who knows what your evening will be like today? So the very first thing that you can do is you can join our community for free, which is our Therapeutic Parents Facebook page. So if you just search for Therapeutic Parents, you'll find us. There's 32,000 members. And when you go on there, you'll see that we've got lots of files and lots of resources, lots of questions that have been asked before. And you can get an answer to your question. And you'll see there's lots and lots of families just like you. The not-for-profit organisation that we set up 3 years ago is called the National Association of Therapeutic Parents. Again, you can join NATP for free for the basic level membership. But if you want more things like all our resources and to be linked into local groups, either online or actually physically going to the cafe and having cake and going to our listening circles, there is a small charge for that. It's about £4 a month. And you can join wherever you are in the world. It's not just restricted to the UK. NATP also works with schools, social services, and does lots of help for people who are feeling stuck and overwhelmed. We're the fastest growing support organisation in the UK. We've got lots of free videos for you, and you can use these to show to friends and professionals and other people who should be supporting you who you feel don't get it. So if you just go to YouTube and look up Inspire Training Group, or just Google Sarah Naish, then it will come up with all our free videos. The best ones to start off with is Understanding Your Traumatized Child. That's a 10-minute video you can show to anybody. Explains trauma, explains why our children behave the way they do. And also, what is therapeutic parenting? Another little 10-minute introduction. We have national conferences, so these would be a bit more of a commitment because it's a day out, but who doesn't like a day out with cake? You can attend them virtually if you want, or you can come along. Our one in 2021 is in November. They're usually in November, our conferences, and they are centrally in the UK. We do have overseas visitors that come. And as I say, if you are wanting to attend and you live overseas, or you've just got a very busy life and you can't come, then you can attend virtually. So check out the website for tickets that are on sale at the moment. We also have the training pass. Now the training pass has been developed because we know that your lives are often frantic, but we also know that you need to have information, key information. When your child is doing something and you don't know why, you need to understand why, and crucially, you need to know what to do about it. But you might be having some free time at 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, there's not a lot going on at 1 o'clock in the morning usually. So with the training pass, you can join up and you can watch any of our videos. We've got thousands on there, webinars, conferences, little 10-minute how to deal with lying, how to deal with stealing. You can sit there with a cup of tea and just watch it whenever you want. That currently costs £10 to £12 per month, but it gives you 24/7 access. That's for the whole household. By the way, the other thing to mention there is if you're a social worker and you're looking for where you can get training from, you're absolutely welcome to join the training pass and sit in a group with foster parents or adopters and show our training on the screen. There's no royalty payments or anything like that. We're very happy to share far and wide. Inspire Training, well, we do loads of training. Inspire Training Group. All of our trainers are either therapeutic parents or children from the care system. We don't have anybody who talks from theory. Everyone talks firsthand from experience, and we give proper strategies, why things happen and what to do about it. We do training in schools, in social services, with foster parents, with adopters, kinship carers and birth parents, everyone really. So with Inspire, you can access our stuff online, as I say, but mainly that's face-to-face. We do a lot of conferences, keynote speaking, that type of thing. We do also speak overseas too. The Haven is part of the Centre of Excellence in Child Trauma, and they do direct therapeutic help for foster parents and adopters and other therapeutic parents. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, you can also contact them through our Centre of Excellence in Child Trauma website, and they will be very happy to put you on a programme to give help for whatever it is you need emotionally, to come to terms with something, to get over something, to reconnect with your child. So the Parents Bridge. So how do you get from Monster Island? So this is a bit more robust for people that have got a bit more time. So first of all, and crucially, I'm sure that many of you are already aware of the A to Z of Therapeutic Parenting. This was the book that I wrote and published 3.5 years ago, and it has more or less been the #1 bestseller in adoption fostering ever since. The reason for that? Well, I wrote the book that I needed when my children were young. I needed something I could quickly look at, go, why is he doing that? What do I do? What do I say? So there you have the first 70 odd pages which explain why our children do the things they do, what therapeutic parenting is all about, why it works and what doesn't. But then, really importantly, you've got all the behaviours, everything you can think of, and you can just literally go straight to the behaviour and look up why it's happening and what you do about it. The other thing to remember is our therapeutic parenting children's stories. They are so useful, they're invaluable. So they look like children's books, but they are really a strategy disguised as a story. And they cover all the major behavioural issues. So, for example, if you have a child who has high cortisol levels, they're likely to be eating a lot of sugar and stealing food and that kind of thing. So we have a book for that. If you've got a child who tells lies and mixes up truth and reality, we've got a book for that. If you've got a child that goes to school and is very dysregulated, has tantrums, maybe hits other children, William Wobbly is the book for that. So all the stories are true. They're all based on my children, what they did, how they behaved. And within the story, it has the words you need to say to the child to help them to understand their behaviours. These books have been phenomenally successful because children identify with the character and they feel like, oh, it's not just me who's like that. There's other children like that. I'm not so odd after all. And it really helps them to take away the shame. And it can help you to repair with the child as well. The Quick Guide to Therapeutic Parenting. This is a nice quick read for you. And it's also useful to lend to others as well. It's fully illustrated and it's broken down into several sections and you can just read it one tiny little bit at a time. So if you want to look at, why children do the things they do, you can look at that. And every single one has got a nice little analogy with it. So I use lots of analogies around planes and cars and that kind of thing. But if you've got someone who's struggling to understand the whys and wherefores and how do you get out in the evening and why aren't people helping me, this book will really help you. And again, you can dip in and out of it. That book was so successful and popular. People said, it's really good as a training aid. So we've produced from that book the Therapeutic Parenting Jumbo cards. A lot of social workers use these with training now, and it basically has all the illustrations from the book in full colour and then an explanation on the back about what it's all about. So it prompts discussion. You might just stick it up in your cupboard if you want to remind yourself about why your child's behaving the way they do, and it just helps you to stay on track a little bit. We all have those bad days. And like I say, even when you've made the transition and you've moved from, the bad place, the monster island, over to safer island, you will still have those bad days. So when I first started thinking about this, I looked for a book about a parent losing their temper and I couldn't find one. I could only find one about the child losing their temper, which seemed a bit unreasonable. I thought, well, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only mother who's ever lost their temper. Pretty confident about that. And judging by a lot of your posts, that is indeed the case. So I wrote Elly Jelly and the Massive Mum Meltdown because that is a book to repair with your child. So if you've had a bad day and you've lost it and you've shouted or you've done something you really regret and you're feeling really terrible, Elly Jelly is the story to read with them or give to them to read, however you want to do it. And it has the words for repairing with the child in it, and it also reassures your child that the love is still there. Therapeutic Parenting Essentials. This book was written by myself, Sarah Dillon and Jane Mitchell. This is a 360-degree view. It's quite useful if you're just starting out on the journey, and it's also useful if you're right at the end too. So what we have there is I talk about my experiences from assessment right the way through to my children growing up and leaving home, all the things that we experience, and I do it from the parent perspective from the journals that I kept at the time. Sarah Dillon, she does it from the child's perspective. So, for example, when I'm talking about the children moving in with me, I talk about my excitement. Sarah Dillon talks about the dread that the child feels and the fear that they have. And then Jane Mitchell gives the professional overview about what's happening here. So that's, again, a nice little read. You can read it in sections. You don't have to read it all at once. So all of those books are a pretty solid bridge for you to get from one island to another. I don't honestly believe it's possible to read all those books and not be a pretty confident therapeutic parent afterwards. You'll be thrilled to know, I'm sure, that in April 2022, the A to Z of survival strategies for therapeutic parents is being published, and that is just for you. It's not about your children. It's about all those feelings that we have, all those difficulties we have around isolation and guilt and grief and shame, and how do we get through those feelings and what do we do with them. So that will be out in April next year. You might have a helper like a social worker or maybe a mum or a dad or a partner or someone who's not quite getting it, and you'd really like them to get it. Or you might be a social worker watching this thinking, what is there for me? What can I do to get better relationships with the families that I work with? So first of all, I would still recommend that you use the A to Z of therapeutic parenting. I know a lot of social workers use this now to give strategies to their parents because they're much more effective than the old-fashioned way of working. We've also written alongside that the A to Z of Therapeutic Parenting Professional Companion, and that has within it 3 therapeutic tools for you to use. The templates are also within the book, and it helps you to work with families to get alongside them, to understand what's going on for them and to resolve those issues. And it's literally step-by-step process for you to go through, explaining every single section as you go along. We do lots and lots of training for professionals, and we also have a corporate membership for the National Association of Therapeutic Parents and professional membership. And we join our professionals up together so that they can share best practice. And we also have a corporate membership for schools as well. So we do a lot of work with schools, and we are now involved with the first ever trauma school, which is just opening in Gloucestershire in the UK. We've recently developed the therapeutic fostering assessment that's now out of pilot, and the therapeutic fostering assessment combines a level 2 award in therapeutic parenting. So foster parents who come in, they go through the training and it's all streamlined. Everything is streamlined. They come out the other side of panel with a qualification, really understanding what the fostering task is. It's certainly a very much faster process without duplication, but it fulfills all the regulations. So we're really excited about that. We've been overwhelmed with interest, and we're really looking forward to seeing that in more fostering agencies and local authorities in the UK. Again, the therapeutic parenting jumbo cards from the quick guide, really useful for you to use in training or just thought-provoking conversation in team meetings. And Jane Mitchell wrote with me the complete guide to therapeutic parenting. That's a guide to all the research behind it in theory. Now that might be your thing. It's not really my thing, I must be honest. Jane absolutely did nearly 99% of the work in this book. But sometimes people say to you, don't they, well, how do you know that and where does that come from? So that's got like all the evidence bases in it that you would need. The very first book I wrote is Therapeutic Parenting in a Nutshell. That's still available on Amazon. You can read the whole thing in under an hour, and it gives you absolutely all the scaffolding that you need to get you started. So a lot of parents get that book and give it to social workers and teachers and say, look, read this. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing with my child. Okay, so luckily all our resources are in one place. So this is how you can find us. First of all, if you go to www.coect.co.uk, that will straight away take you to the Centre of Excellence in Child Trauma, and you'll be able to find all our training, resources, NATP, support, everything you need is in one place. If you want to find us on Facebook, go to Therapeutic Parenting. For all the training stuff, again, you can find COECT and just click on the training link. For books, you can get the books more or less anywhere. If you go to Amazon and search for Sarah Naish, that's the easiest way to find all of our stuff. If you live overseas, you go to jkp.com and they will tell you where your outlet is, say for Australia and the USA. But generally speaking, our books are available worldwide, and as I said earlier, translated into other languages. So I hope you've enjoyed this little overview. I just wanted to make it because I feel so strongly that having put all the effort into getting these resources for you, and we've got a huge team that have worked really, really hard to put things together, and I just want you to use some of them. You don't have to spend any money. A lot of it is for free. Obviously the books and stuff you do have to pay for, but oh my goodness me, I wish this stuff had been around for me when my children were young. My children are all grown up now. Some of them got children themselves. I'm so glad I used therapeutic parenting. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you all somewhere soon. Bye.